Good morning, gang. Happy Thursday morning from a windy, wet, cold Tennessee. All right. Question. Who's paying for all this? And what I mean is the war in Ukraine. Anybody that doesn't think that this is Joe's war is sadly mistaken. I'm going to give you some quick numbers here, real quick. So far, the United States Congress has approved, as of today, $15.1 billion in aid to Ukraine. Okay, that's been in the sorts of missiles and tanks and God knows what. Okay, military equipment. The rest of NATO, all the other countries who this is on their doorstep, has approved about 1 million euros, or about $1.1 billion. So the United States, in typical fashion, is how NATO works, is paying all the bills. 15 times the money is coming from the United States than is coming from Europe. Okay? So let's think about how this works and why we're doing this. Well, the $15.1 billion worth of equipment comes from the government. Why are they so thrilled about doing that? Well, the military-industrial complex, whether it's General Dynamics or Halliburton or Lockheed Martin or whoever, okay, is always pushing the government, we need to spend more money, you need to buy more stuff. And sure, so our government, because all those politicians want those campaign contributions and those kickbacks and those steak dinners and those limo rides, they do it. Both parties. Okay? No question, it's both parties. But why are they pushing this through? Now let's think about this. The military-industrial complex makes money because they're not selling those javelins or whatever to the government at no profit. The politicians are making money because they're getting campaign contributions, steak dinners, etc., etc., etc. But who's paying for it? You and me. It comes out of our tax dollars. And before somebody says, no, we just borrow the money, well, okay, inflation is a hidden tax, guys, so you're paying for it, whether you like it or not. This is the problem. What's the solution? Okay, and you have a couple of congressmen, Democrats, believe it or not, both from Massachusetts, okay, Seth Moulton and Jake Auchincloss, who have presented to the House the Yachts for Ukraine Act. Now, I want to give you this. So far, the U.S. and NATO, or EU, has seized somewhere between $200 and $300 billion worth of assets of Russian oligarchs. Yachts, mansions, bank accounts, private planes, whatever it would be. Okay. Now, it's not as simple as, gee, we seized your yacht, we're selling your yacht, and we get the money. Okay. They can hold the yacht, prevent it from being sold or moved, but the U.S., we just can't repossess it and take it until, eventually it could be. It could go through court, and as long as a crime is proven in court that the asset was ill-gotten goods, some crime had taken place, let's say it was selling drugs or whatever it would be, then they could seize it and sell it. The problem is, when you have an asset seizure like that, the money is then given to the local law enforcement. Okay? The Yachts for Ukraine Act sounds great, except they didn't go far enough. The Yachts for Ukraine Act says We're seizing the assets now. We're selling them, and according to it, giving the money to Ukraine to help them rebuild. What about helping the United States rebuild the $15.1 billion that we have spent so far on this? All right. Nobody ever comes up with that. We don't have a money tree in the backyard. The Fed thinks we do, but the rest of us know that ain't true. Once your kid's about 5, he realizes that money doesn't grow on trees. The Fed, unfortunately, thinks it does. You think, oh, okay, so that's the only way it affects us. No, so let's talk about this. Let's think about the airplane or the yacht or anything else like that. It's got to be seized and housed. So let's say you own a small airport. I don't care where, Italy, United States, whatever it would be. And you rent out space to store planes. Great. You can't use that. You have to keep that plane there. That plane is forbidden from moving. Or that yacht is forbidden from moving. So you can't lease out that space to another customer. Obviously, the oligarchs certainly aren't paying you for this. They can't. Their assets are frozen, so there's no way to get you the money. Do those people have any recourse? Who knows? It'd be nice if they did, but now what do you have? Let's say they seize a yacht for dock fees that aren't paid. All right, if they sell the yacht or whatever it is, the $1 billion you get for one of these freaking yachts, they don't get to keep all that. The rest of the money goes back to the oligarch or however it would be. This is the issue. There's $200 to $300 billion that has been seized from Russia, from Russian oligarchs, okay? Putin's cronies who aren't doing anything to stop Putin from, stop Putin. Let's just put it that way, all right? You got 140 million people in Russia who are being driven to bankruptcy by the aspirations of one man. That's insane, okay? And they have no way to stand up and really fight back. But the problem is you have billions of people around the rest of the world that are being driven to bankruptcy by the aspirations of one man. And the very few people who do have the ability to stop it, all they are doing is expediting the process and accelerating the bankruptcies. $15 billion spent to secure the borders of Ukraine. Nothing spent to secure the borders of the United States. Where are my tax dollars really going? I know. Most people don't. Most people, not here, I think most of you guys pretty much do, really don't care. It's the NIMBY principle, not in my backyard. I don't know, I don't care. It's just I pay my taxes and whatever they do, they do. Your tax dollars are supposed to go to support your way of life, not the rest of the world. Does anybody honestly think Ukraine is going to pay the U.S. back the $15 billion? Right, that's going to happen. Zelensky's had his hand out since the beginning, okay? All he's trying to do is get rich. I'll give you this. This is where the world is going, guys. Countries all over the place, okay? Every country is falling apart at the seams. No problem. Because most people anymore aren't willing to fight for their country. Now, maybe fight for the people of the country, but certainly not fight for the governments of their country. When I was in the Army, I took an oath, just like every other military service, enlisted serviceman. The oath for an officer and enlisted is different. Okay? But took an oath to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Defend this country, not defend this administration, not to defend this politician, not to defend this party. I don't agree with what the current administration is doing. I think that's pretty obvious. Would I risk my life to protect what they want? Not on your life. Would I risk my life to protect what you want? What the American people want? Their freedoms, their right to go about their daily life? Damn straight I would. Okay? We have two enemies right now. One is foreign, one is domestic. It's time people realize that Russia is not our greatest adversary. China is not our greatest adversary. Iran is not our greatest adversary. Even Central America and South America coming across the southern border isn't our greatest adversary. The biggest threat to our way of life in the United States is our own government. They are doing whatever they can to bankrupt America. Morally, economically, you name it. I've said many times before, the United States is not a landmass. The United States is a way of life. It is the people. It is the people that make the United States, not the border of California and the Pacific Ocean to the border of the East Coast and the Atlantic Ocean, Canada to Mexico. That's just happens to be where we are. If you took all the people in the United States and moved them to Australia and displaced all the people in Australia and moved them to the United States, that would be the United States. It's the mentality. It's the rule of law. It's the Constitution. It's the republic that we supposedly are, okay? That sure seems to be falling apart quickly. Somehow, some way, this has to stop. And I know constantly everybody says, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? I wish I had the answer. The first thing that needs to be done is the people need to take control of the government again and get educated and involved on how this country is run. Because as long as we have Bidens and Pelosi's and Schumers and people like this running this country into the toilet for their own wealth and their own gain, the rest of us are doomed. Pinball out.